Dear students, let us learn the Unit 2 C++ 2 mark questions. First question is define function. A function is said to be a set of instructions that can perform a specific task. A function is said to be a set of instructions that can perform a specific task. The advantages are reusability, modularity, overall programming, simplicity. Functions are classified into library functions and user-defined functions. It is a very much important 2 mark question in C and C++. In Java, you can learn what is the definition of a function. The name is called as a method. What is a method or what is a function? Both are same. A function is said to be a set of instructions that can perform a specific task. This is the main definition. The advantages, reusability, modularity, overall programming, simplicity. The next question is define library function. The functions that are already available in the C++ library are called as library function. The functions which are already written by the programmers are called as C++ library functions. Some of the important categories of library functions are input-output functions, iostream.h. You may cross across the header files. The main header file is in C++ is iostream.h, mathematical functions math.h, string handling functions string.h, console input-output functions conio.h, and a manipulator functions io-manip.h. These are some of the library functions. Many library functions other than these functions are available. These are very much important categories of library functions. The functions that are already available in the C++ library are called library functions. The next question is, what are the advantages of function prototype? Function prototype, we can say it function prototype or function declaration also. The prototype describes the function interface to the compiler. It describes the function interface to the compiler by giving details such as number of type of arguments, number and type of how many arguments, and what is the type of arguments and the type of the return values. The general format is return type. The type is called as return type, then function name and the argument list. This is called as the function prototype. Another name for the prototype is function declaration. An example is here integer. It is the return type. This function will return an integer value. The name of the function is add. Then it has 3 arguments, 2 integer argument and 1 float argument. This is called as the function prototype. Then the next one is define function overloading. It is also an very much important question. We can use the same function name to create functions that perform a variety of different tasks. You can use the same function name to create functions that perform a variety of tasks. In OOPS concept, you can heard about the polymorphism concept. This is known as function polymorphism in OOP. So one name with a different task. We are creating variety of tasks. For example, an overload add function handles different type of data as follows. Here in this example, the return type is integer. The name is add. 2 arguments are here, integer A and integer B. Then the same add function. The name of the function is same, but the return type is double and the argument also double type. This function is used to add 2 integer value. This function is to add 2 double value. This function returns an integer value. This function returns a double value. This is the example for this function calls. So this is known as function polymorphism in OOP. The next question is, what is meant by call by value and call by reference? This concept already you have learned in C also, but it is a very much important question, call by value and call by reference. Call by value, when a function is called by supplying values as arguments. The main concept is by supplying values as parameters or arguments. It is called call by value. Any changes made to the formal parameters do not affect the actual parameters. This is a very much important difference. Any changes made to the formal parameters do not affect the actual parameters. In call by reference, when a function is called by supplying references, by supplying addresses, as parameters, it is called as call by reference. Any changes made to the formal parameters will affect the actual parameters. In call by value, the formal parameters do not affect the actual parameters, but in call by reference, any changes made to the formal parameters will affect the actual parameters. This is the main difference. It is also a very much important question. The next question is inline function. Inline function is a function that is expanded inline. That is expanded inline when it is invoked. It will be reduce the memory size and the processing time will be fast more than the normal functions. The main difference is normally the functions are loaded by its argument, by its addresses in computer memory, but the inline function, the original coding of the function is loaded in the computer memory. This is the main difference. Normally the function address will go to the memory, but in inline function, the original coding, the direct coding value of the direct binary coding of this function will go to the memory. This is the main difference. It is useful to reduce the memory size and the processing time. The next question is write the use of friend function or define friend function or what is friend function. C++ allow a common function to be made friendly with two or more classes, thereby allowing the common function to have access to the private data of these classes. A friend function may be friend to one or many classes, two or more classes. A function may be friend. What is the main concept here is normally the data in a class can be accessed only by the function of that class only. But by using the friend function, we can access the private members of any classes. This is the main difference. We should be very careful in using friend function because we are allowing to access the private members of a class by using the friend function. Such a function need not be a member of any of these classes. This is the main difference. Such a function need not be a member. Then the functions that are declared with the keyword friend are known as friend function. We should create the function by using the keyword friend before that class. Okay, but be careful when using friend function. Those classes are allowed to access the private members of its friend classes. Okay, the next question is mention any two significance of friend functions and explain the characteristics of friend function. A friend function, it is not in the scope of the class. It is not in the scope of the class, so it cannot be called using the object of the class because it is only friend. It is not the member of that class, so we should not use the object for calling this function. It can be invoked like a normal function without the help of any object. To access the class members, it has to use an object name and a dot membership operator with each member name. To access the class members, to access the data members, it should use the data number. For example, a class has a data integer x, then we should use the object. A is that object with the dot member a dot x. We are accessing a member data member of a class here. So this is the main significance of a friend function. The next question is write the syntax of class. In a 2-mark question, the general form of a class can be asked. First, we should use the keyword class. Then we should write our identifier class name. Then there are two areas here, private area and public area. If you are using inheritance, you can use private, protected or public here. In private area, variable declarations and function declaration. In public area, we should write variable declaration and function declaration. This is the syntax of class. The next question is what is meant by constructor? This is very important question. What is meant by a constructor? Constructor is a special member function whose task is to initialize the object of its class. This is the main concept. It is used to initialize the objects of the class. A constructor can be declared and defined as follows. Here you can see an example, class integer. The data members are integer m, n. Then in public section, integer void, here constructor is defined. Here m value is 0 and n value is 0. We are giving the initial value to these values. M value is 0 and n values. We are giving the initial value. You can easily identify a constructor in a class because the constructor name, the name of the class name and name of the constructor name should be the same. The class name is integer here. In the same way, the function name is integer. So both are same. Then it is the constructor of this class.